Yes, I mean we're a bit different from the typical crypto project in that we're backed by land, right? So your token is backed by access rights to physical land, and we're developing a thriving eco-village in Portugal. So we're building a co-living space. We're expanding into a tiny house development soon. We built already a lake and a biopool, and there's kind of all of this things happening on the ground, kind of in parallel to the technology. And the key difference between crypto projects and us is that we seek to put real value on chain. So instead of just having all of these financialized kind of instruments and where you can kind of have all the leverage and all the different things that that crypto provides, we like our utility of the token is being able to have physical access to the land. And one token is one night spent at TDF per year forever. So it renews every year. If you buy 10 TDF tokens, you can come 10 nights this year and then 10 night next year and so on and so on. So it's a very simple and straightforward model. And the crypto aspect kind of enable us to decentralize the access right to the space. And we looked at more like people spending time in the project as the kind of base unit of division for how do we divide the total cost of building such a space, and also how do we divide the governance right associated with governing such a space. So we devised a few primitives that basically enable land-based projects similar to ours to bring in these new tools, these technologies, into the realm of small-scale physical communities, which should solve some of the downside of traditional eco-villages. And so some of those are, well, first of all, a lot of eco-villages don't have a very clear ownership or governance structure. A lot of the communities that were set up in the 60s, like kind of was back to the land movement, they had a lot of enthusiasm about ecological preservation and these sort of things, but it was more about living in your own secluded bubble and disconnecting from the global system. I think what we're seeing now is like more of a transition into a more cosmo-local view of the world, where you have certain things that are better shared globally. The things that are light, for example, like software and governance tools and kind of the whole means of production are shifting to becoming more like this, where you have access to technology, which you can send via the internet to any remote community anywhere in the world, mixed with more like on-site local action and production. And so yeah, so in a way, basically, when people buy the token, it gives them an access right into this like physical space through this governance mechanism, and we can kind of get all the benefits from the crypto side of things, which is access to liquidity. People can buy the token, they can sell the token, so you don't have to be stuck with a physical space when you move there, and also you can accrue value in that project, right? And that's the downside of traditional eco-villages is that, well, because there was not any clear equities that you could distribute to people, all these kind of instruments, that meant that a lot of people end up spending a lot of time and effort in building these spaces, and after 30 years, maybe they leave and they go somewhere else, and they can't really take any of this value with them. So by creating a tokenized economy that actually represent the most precious asset, which is the access in terms of time in the space, you can create a more equitable bonding mechanism for a community to be able to define what does value mean and how do we come in and come out. And so it enables you as a customer to be able to show up to an eco-village and to put in your energy and so on, and to earn the token as a compensation, knowing that if you leave someday, you'll be able to have some values you can take with you. Yeah, one big kind of difference between our token and let's say traditional real estate or other ways that you can organize these sort of things is that we are a stewardship token. So what we didn't want to bring from the capitalistic world is this idea that simply by owning the token, you can have the right to completely deplete the land, extract from it, and so on. We have to break that cycle of extraction that's been put in place over the last many centuries, which has been causing depletion of resources globally and the tragedy of the commons. And it's how can we actually reverse that, and how can we actually have local communities that are actually enhancing the local ecosystem so that leaving a positive trace on nature. And so when you buy the token, you are buying it with the condition that the land will be put into the commons, the land will be regenerated, we're going to be replenishing the commons, and through the token, you'll be getting access to that common.
Cool. And tokens, I think you're telling me it's like $100, €100 or something per token right now, around that?
242 currently.
242, okay,
Euros, yeah,
euros. Okay. So that gets you one night a year, but for perpetuity in a way. So if you
exactly.
buy 10 tokens for 2,400, you have 10 nights in perpetuity. And but then what about the people? How many people are living at the community right now?
So we have about 15 people on the ground, more or less permanently right now. Um, but I mean, we can have between 10 to 80 people. So basically, for events, we'll have like up to 80, up to 100 people.
Yeah.
And that happens pretty frequently when we have small festivals and so on. And then in our day-to-day life, I mean, you have different ways to come and stay. So, I mean, you can be part of the permanent team, you can be a permanent resident. So this, like the whole tiny house neighborhood that we're building, this is getting into more of a co-housing model. So having people who are
Yeah.
here full time, having families here, people who maybe run the businesses here, maybe people who are part of the team actually running the farm operations and so on. But then in parallel, you can also just come as a volunteer for a couple of weeks, or you can come as a builder resident, or you can just come as a guest and just spend a few days. So the goal is to kind of have all the different levels of engagement so that we're not just stuck with one fixed community that kind of stagnates, but to have a bit of both. So where we get some people staying longer term, some people rotating, and so on.
Cool. And then, so people who live there permanently, how does their share in the structure work? I mean, you said that they get rewarded over time for contributing, so they amass tokens or something like that?
Yeah, so basically the total number of tokens that we minted initially corresponds to the total number of accommodations that will be available in the project once the first milestone is completed. So that's like 14 rooms that we're building and 4 studios and a house and so on and so on. And then we take that, we multiply it by the number of days that are available per year. So for example, for a private suite, it's going to be 2 tokens per night times 365. And so that gives us a total initial supply of tokens. Now we reserve 20% of that supply for contributions. So if you're working on the team, or maybe you just come for a month and you build a tree house, like we kind of define different projects that we want to get done. And for those, we assign token rewards. So if you're part of the team, you basically accrue the token, and over time, you basically have your that representation, which is like a fraction of the total access to this village, which you can resell if you want to. And then that get mixed with a couple of other tokens, so the proof of presence and proof of proof of sweat, which are just governance tokens representing other rights than just a pure financial. So it's kind of this mix of governance through spending time here, doing work, and also holding the actual asset and the access to the asset.
So it sounds like, in a way, I guess it's not a project where anybody's going to get like super wealthy. It's more about creating a sustainable infrastructure.
Well, I mean, we like our aim is not necessarily to remove the speculative aspects from real estate. Some people would put that as a critic towards us, but what we are seeing is we want to funnel some of this funding that goes into real estate, which is trillions of dollars. Right? It's the biggest asset class in the world. And we want to take a fraction of that asset class and invest it into biodiversity, carbon capture, and kind of ecosystem benefits. And so for us, it wasn't the highest priority to not have any kind of return on it. And so if ultimately it's a market, right? So once all the tokens are issued and we build and so on, it's still going to be a marketplace. And it's possible that the token value will be going up by a lot because a lot of people want to come and spend time here. So that is still a possibility. And so if that's the case, if the project is very popular, because we built great facilities, because we have a great community on the ground, and because we managed to spread the word about the project, well, that means that the token value increases. So because it does that. Basically, what it does, it bonds the interest of the community, right? Because now everyone that participated in the project, they actually have an interest and a stake in the growth of this project in the future.